Theater training,
He doesn't need the mic.
speech courses, he can speak. Lowell, I want to thank you for not only being a friend for very many, many years, your wife Mary as well, but I don't know how many of you know that he has a son who in Tucson is a fairly important man. He's the mayor of Tucson, and we're lucky to have somebody of his brilliance, and I say brilliance because he is reinvigorating Tucson in a way that it is needed for many, many years. He's running for re-election, and the good thing is, unopposed. So, it's the Todd way. There are a number of issues I'd like to cover, and one of them I think I'm going to start with so that we can go through this. We've been hearing about brothers who have died. If you're Gentile, it's called passed, but if you're Jewish, it's called died. And I think my father, I remember when he, I was in town, he was in his 80s at this point, came to town, and I said, Dad, what are you doing today? He said, oh, I'm going to a funeral. So I said, oh, I'm so sorry. He says, what are you sorry about? There's good schnapps, there's good food, my friends are all there, and best of all, I'm alive. That's why I get to go to the funeral. So I don't think of death the same way as my former wife, Julie Deutsch, who was in 85, but they all think of death, I think, differently than we do. The Toddells can't think of those things. In any case, I want to just briefly touch on Gene Karp, who, interestingly enough, moved here when he was 9 in 1945. I was 4 in 1945 when my family moved here. And interestingly enough, I wasn't aware until just now that Hirsch, you, or Lowell went to El Carnila, where I went. You find things out at reunions that you will never know. Now I know why I never went near the swimming pool, though. It was subconscious. In any case, Gene Karp died on September 8th at 79 years old. They use a euphemism in here of suffering from cognitive impairment for several years, and then later on they talk about how you may give to Alzheimer's Association of Southern Arizona. So I think that the idea of death and passing and euphemisms and such is irrelevant. When one's mind is clear, one does great things, and Gene did. He did something very, very special, which is more special to a few of us than anyone else. He went to all of the 4 great schools in Tucson: Sam Hughes, Mansfeld, Tucson High, and the University of Arizona. Now, how many of you besides me can claim that? I want to just hear a hand. One here.
I went to Sam Hughes.
You went to Sam, but did you go to Mansfeld, Tucson?
Rossbridge was a better school.
Rossbridge was across the street on the north side. They didn't have any shrubbery. We didn't talk about Rossbridge. In any case, I want to just read a few little things here because I think it's best if I read them from the Tucson Weekly, who did a really wonderful obituary. He spent decades working in progressive politics, including 6 years as chairman of the Pima County Democratic Party in the 1970s. He was inducted into the Arizona Democratic Party's Hall of Fame in 2007. He served as the Democratic Party's chairman in Pima County. In 1977, became chief of staff and legal counsel for U.S. Senator Dennis DeConcini, who was a major force in Arizona and certainly helped Tucson. He created a summer internship program for students at Arizona colleges to work in Washington, which became a model for other Senate offices. Now, you heard Hirsch talk about Jeff Minker and his work through the YMCA. We Toddells, and I don't think that it's because we're Toddells, I think it's because the kinds of people who joined Toddell Phi were the ones who wanted to do meaningful things. We were special people in that we weren't ZBTs, we didn't have any money, and we could do wonderful things within our fraternity, and we did. At the end of his Senate tenure, he served for 3 years in the U.S. Department of Labor as an appointee of President Bill Clinton. Karp was the first member of his family to attend college. Interestingly enough, I was the first member also. You know, you always look for these similarities, Abraham Lincoln and JFK, there's always all these similarities. In this case, I'm trying to claim a little fame based on Gene's shoulders. They had a private ceremony. He's survived by his wife Naomi, daughter Gail, and son Wingate. did you ever hear of a Jewish guy named Lincoln? I don't know where they got this one. And his brother Leonard. Now Leonard Karp was a very close friend of mine, is a good friend, but was especially close. We went to Europe for 4 months together, and if any friendship can survive 4 months in a Volkswagen, believe me, going all over Europe, it's very special. And I said, Len, tell me something more personal if you're not going to show up, which I really strongly advise you to show up. I keep looking at the door, he's not walking in, I'm near the end of the obituary, so I will tell this. And he said, basically, Gene was the go-to person to get things done. And I think that, as you all know, it's not sort of what you know, it's who you know and those who are able to help others. And Gene was that kind of a man who certainly did. That's his obituary. That's one more brother who has passed and died. And I think that what's wonderful is that we are here to remember these people, and we really never forget them. I know that I think of my parents all the time. I know that Hirsch does. We've talked about this with various people. It's the memories that linger on that are important, and it's occasions like this where we're all together that we get to have these brief memories. Lowell choked up for a moment when he was thinking about how he benefited by Tau Delta Phi here. It's that kind of memory that I think is most important. I want to digress a moment. How many times can we thank Ken Meerman? I follow the emails. I called him one day and I said, so what's the committee working on? He says, what do you mean, the committee? I said, well, it must be you've got a lot of people who are doing this because it's gigantic what's going on. He says, well, Marley's helping me a little bit. And I said, and? He says, and that's it. So I want you to know that I chaired several major conferences in my time, 1984 and 1986 in Chicago and Los Angeles for the American Society of Interior Designers. It is a year of your life, and based on how many emails I got, I know it's a year in my life. It's something that doesn't happen unless you are really selfless and devoted to a cause, to a reason, and to your fraternity. And so as many times as he's been thanked, and as many times as we've applauded, you don't need applause right this moment. I just want to say, this is truly special, Ken. It's beyond special. It's unique in its annals, certainly with Tau Delta Phi, I can assure you of that. So I thank you for that. The other thing is, it's amazing how you can go to a fraternity reunion, and you can look around, and you can absolutely know no one. I'm looking at all of you. I don't remember you. But if you wear your badge and you have the nerd photo that I have, somebody says to me, oh, you were literally said last night, oh, you were that nerd, I remember you were. We all know what we were. We all still think we are. But the fact is that whether we remember each other's faces or not, we meet new friends. Danny, I sat and talked to, had never seen the man before, didn't know they let blacks into Tau Delta Phi. Who can tell what's going on in this? Didn't even You see, this is the great part of Tau Delta Phi. I even thought it was an all-Jewish fraternity. It shows you what I know. The issue is, I found out how to correctly pronounce Lieb Haber. But he lives in Santa Barbara, so now I can remember Barbara, Haber. These are my little ways. What happens here is that the special qualities that we have are shown by one more brief story I'm going to tell. And he's not here today,